Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Studio City Land Use Committee meeting, Wednesday, October 13, 2021. My name is Lisa Karaji, and I'm the chair of Studio City's Land Use Committee. Let's go ahead and take roll. Lana, did you want to take roll?
Sure.
I actually can do it, no worries. Adele Slaughter,
Here.
Lana Shackelford,
Here, sorry.
Niederberg, no worries.
Yes, here.
Dean Cutler,
Here.
Jesse Porter.
Here.
Excellent. We have a quorum, so let's go ahead and get started. Reports, announcements, and updates. In regard to one of the number one items on my list is redistricting. I hope you have been following the redistricting that will be affecting all of us in Studio City. We all need to get involved, and we all need to get involved very, very soon. There was a meeting earlier today. There is another meeting next week as well as this Saturday. So there are only a few dates left. I would really appreciate if all stakeholders came together and really got involved in the redistricting manner. Redistricting, which occurs every 10 years after the census, has big implications for which city council member will represent us in Studio City and our Studio City Neighborhood Council. It will affect who our city council member will represent. These decisions are being made right now. The commission is meeting. They are taking public comment. The meetings are public. You can listen in, you can get involved, you can write an email, you can phone in, voice your opinion. And I included the links in my agenda. If you could please write emails to every commissioner. And if you'd like a list of that, I would be more than happy to send you the list of commissioners that you should be sending your email to. There was a story published in the LA Times regarding the city redistricting process. And if you Google it, you can find it. Otherwise, you can always email me and I can send you the link to that. But I did receive an email from our former president of the Neighborhood Council, John Walker, and I think this explains it really efficiently. And I'm going to go ahead, take the time to read it because this redistricting matter is a very important issue that is about to affect all of us in our community. And I urge everyone who has a database of email addresses. I know you know who you are. If you would please encourage your email list to get involved, that would be great. So Save Studio City and our Valley. To all our community, the Los Angeles City Council Redistricting Commission was to adjust the boundaries of the council districts to reflect changes in population as reported in the 2020 US Census, while giving due consideration to other factors, such as geographical boundaries and communities of interest. Sadly, the integrity of the process has been compromised by backroom deal making and has produced a plan that disenfranchises thousands of voters by depriving us of the representation we voted for. And even though I, you, and others have asked several times, what is the purpose of this change, ? No commissioner has offered an answer in any of its public meetings. It has been stated at the Redistricting Commission meetings that stakeholders of Studio City do not identify with the Valley and should be connected to Hollywood to create a studio district. Is that how you feel? If not, please let them know. If that isn't enough, this East Valley district would go from Hollywood to Sunland to Hunga. If a studio district, quote unquote, is something there is real interest in, why not do it logically by linking neighborhood councils in the creation of that district? Studio City, Toluca Lake, Valley Village, Valley Glen, NoHo East and West, Cahuenga Pass, and Barham. Keeping these districts together gives us the studio district we are told is the reason for this and allows us to finally unite our neighborhood councils. Making things worse, the redistricting commission did not make a decision as to which council member Rahman or council member Krikorian would represent which one of these totally new districts. And in fact, it appears it was done to create misunderstanding. The first three releases were identified by a letter and not the district number, which created mass confusion for the first several weeks. Please take a look at the attached map, which I included the link to in my agenda above and on the agenda when you have finished this email or after I'm done with it, to see what this district would look like. It takes a very long time to establish a relationship with a new council member, and we would have little time to accomplish that. Plus, we have just elected Councilman Krikorian. Money and politics seem to be the driving forces here and not true representation. This plan even divides neighborhood councils that currently may represent the district you live in now. This becomes final by October 28th of 2021. Please call or email your concerns immediately to the emails that I can provide for you. So looking at the agenda, the next meeting would be Saturday, October 16, next Thursday, October 21, and Thursday, October 28. So your involvement would be greatly appreciated. Please email me for the commissioner's email addresses should you want to voice your thoughts. All right, having said that, I am moving on to public comments. On non-agenda items within the committee's jurisdiction. I did think I had one more thing to go over. So I will go back to the redistricting at the end of this meeting once we're wrapped to go ahead and answer any questions or provide any email addresses at the end of this meeting as well. Before we move on to, I'm sorry, I misspoke, to public comments, I do want to bring attention to SB 9, that is the law now, and communities and cities address the unplanned growth it allows. So Adele, are you familiar with SB 9? Did you want to speak to that?
I'm not prepared. I'm a little bit familiar with it.
So just in a nutshell, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Senate Bill 9 ends single family zoning to allow 4 homes where 1 now stands. It was signed by Governor Newsom, backed by 73 of 120 legislators. So in the coming months, we'll go ahead and dive deeper into this, trying to get some kind of understanding. Sunset Place. So I did receive an email from the gentlemen who have this project, Sunset Place. So having reached out to them several times with phone calls and email addresses, they finally reached out to me today. I received an email from them this morning, and it goes like this. Hi, Lisa. We thought we would update you on our project. DWP has now installed their power lines and poles running up the east side of our project. This is great news for some SunSwept Drive Spectrum users and will provide power to all the hillside lots to the east of us on SunSwept. We are drilling 5 small diameter holes on our property to test the stability of the ground under the SunSwept Bridge and further down the hill. This is in connection with our approved earth retention plan for the hillside. This 2-week project will be completed by October 22, we expect. This is a small project. We used a road already on the property to bring the drills up. No dirt is being moved. We are drilling into a cliff that is right beside the road. We are not affecting any trees. Our tree experts are getting twice daily videos, and we'll do a study at the end of the 2 weeks to make sure nothing has changed. We already have a full tree report in with city planning, which shows the tags, pictures, and map of locations of all protected trees on the property. This will be our last work until and unless our full project is approved, which may be a long time from now. We are patient though. We are awaiting our first set of responses from planning and have our first set from DBS. Hopefully you have received everything you need. As you know, we have worked with council office to close off the area under the SunSwept Bridge to homeless and drug dealers over the past 2 years, and we provide security for our property. We are concerned about the safety of businesses and residents in Studio City. We are supporting the bid in providing patrol services. We understand other businesses are jumping on the bandwagon as well. We are committed to a safe Studio City community. Thank you, Pete and Jack. So I just wanted to read that email response from Pete and Jack because there has been concern over the past few days with the goings on of the property at SunSwept. So just wanted to share that with you. All right, so moving on to public comments on non-agenda items within the committee's jurisdiction. So public comments on non-agenda items. Diane Cole, go ahead and unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Sure, thank you.
Hi.
Hi. So I am representing Sunshine Hill Residents Association here tonight.
Okay.
We have a couple hundred households that are members of our community. We're advocate for the residents in our hillside community and an advocate for our sensitive natural communities. That means sensitive natural communities, for the folks that don't know, those are vegetation and wildlife in the Santa Monica Mountain Zone in particular. So thank you for reading the response from the applicant, Peter, for SunSwept. On January 22nd, I sent an email to the chair from myself with the board's approval, asking that this be put on the agenda. And I'm sorry that SunSwept is not on the agenda because we have grave concerns about this project. As far as what the applicant wrote to the chair, I don't think any of it is accurate. I spent the better part of 48 hours of my life trying to figure out what was going on there. There are no approved permits. There is no DW plan. We had several inspectors there, one from Urban Forestry Division, who viewed damage to the protected trees. They're moving earth, they're drilling. I have alerted the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. They are concerned. And I'm curious as to why there's posters all over this place and saying the coming of this development on their own material says it'll be within a year, and we haven't seen any plans. There hasn't been any discussion. There is no plans in the planning department. There was no DWP representatives there, and nobody, and city staff was all kind of a fluster about this as well.
All
But I
right.
can tell you that damage has been done.
Thank you,
And I
Diane.
just want to say one last thing, if I might, please. I want everyone to understand that this goes beyond the protected trees. This is a oak walnut woodland. And under CDFW CEQA protocols, there is to be no work until there is a biological done and something that CDFW can review and provide recommendations on.
All right,
Because
thank
you-
you. Thank
That
you.
was two,
We
that was beyond
appreciate
2
that.
minutes.
All right, thank you, Dean. Diana, thank you for all that information. Just so everyone knows, I have reached out to Pete and Jack for months now, inviting them to attend our land use meeting with their item on the agenda several times, and they have not responded. So this is not a matter that's going away anytime soon. We will stay on top of it. We will get these gentlemen to show up at one point or another and have them held accountable for what's going on. So thank you for that. Moving on. Joanne D'Antonio. You can
That's right.
unmute yourself.
2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. I am your representative to the Community Forest Advisory Committee appointed by the council office, by the councilman, and confirmed by city council and the mayor. There's two from each, or there's supposed to be two from each council district, and I've served in this capacity for 2 years. I happen to be by the property, which advertises its address as 12555-12582 Ventura Boulevard. I took extensive video and stills there today, which I am happy to share with anybody who wants them. It's easiest for me to text them. So my, I guess you don't have a chat. So you can email me at cfac.cd2alt@aol.com. I don't have a city email address because we're volunteers, but we are considered part of the city. And I'm very distressed because there's a rule, an ordinance that the, protected trees have to have protection around them. And there was no protection around any of the trees. There was blasting going on with smoke, and it was, I thought I was smelling the Santa Barbara fire, but apparently it's what they were doing. So as I said, I have video. There should be an EIR for what they do before they do anything. And there is no EIR. These people are blatantly ignoring the law. And I just want to share that with you. And I support anything you want to do about it. Even though I'm part of the council office representation, I believe you should contact the council office and complain if you have problems with what's been going on there.
All right, thank you, Joanne. Just so everyone knows, for the protected trees at Sunswept, it's 4 Coast Live Oak, 55 Southern California Black Walnut, and 53 Toyon shrubs. Okay, moving on to Kira Durbin.
Hi, thanks, Lisa. I just wanted to give a really quick update. I know that the park and ride lot has been discussed in this committee.
Yes.
The president of the neighborhood council sent out an email And the sheriff's department has also been telling people that that lot will be closed. That is false information, and I'm not sure where it came from, but we did have Brenda from the county in our homelessness meeting last night, and she did clarify that there have been no plans to make any changes or to close the lot. So I just wanted to let you know. Thank you so much.
I'm glad you did, because that lot did originate in this committee, actually. So I did drive by it yesterday, and even though a couple of weeks ago I did see trucks hauling away large amounts of garbage, it just seems to just get bigger and bigger. It doesn't seem like it does a dent. But thank you for that, Kira. Anyone else for non-agenda items? Okay, moving on.
Peter
Oh,
Cole.
Peter Cole, sorry.
Hi there. I just wanted to let everyone know, it was about a year ago, I was sent accidentally correspondence between the Sunswept developer and the council office. All the work that was being done up there, a few emails were sent to me. Our names are both Peter. And when quizzing the council office on the work, they were bobbing and weaving and dodging and wouldn't answer any questions on that. And this actually goes back, the work that was going on up there goes back a few years when another Studio City resident caught wind of it, and the council office will not reveal that they've been working with the developer and also this public project that's going on up there. So I just don't know what good it does to call the council office on this. I have the proof that they've been involved in all this behind the scenes, but when you ask them point blank, they, ignore you. So, and I'm happy to share these emails with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead and unmute yourself, 561.
I think that's Barry, isn't it?
Very well could be, yeah.
Hi, this is Ruth, your ruthless neighbor.
Hi, Ruth.
Hey there. I wanted to just comment about the councilman's office. I'm really just disappointed about his 4118D motion. I remember a few weeks before he signed the Bob Blumenfield Council File 2013-76. I believe there was a council board meeting of Studio City where the councilman corrected Randy Fried when he implied that all homeless people were criminals. And I thought that was great. And I felt really glad that we had supported him in his election for his last term. And then right after that, he voted to turn us all into criminals, which I think is terrible. And then he voted to ban protest from his home. And so now he's sticking the consequences of that onto the people that live 300 feet away from him. And he has the ability to buy Hillside Via in Chinatown and prevent the displacement of hundreds of people, and he's choosing not to. So I just really wish that there was a council or an advocate that advocated for homeless people in Los Angeles in Council District 2 as hard as we advocate for the walnut trees. Thank you.
So I'm going to answer to that since we're moving into responding. Thank you for that, Ruth. But just so you know, we with the Studio City Neighborhood Council do have a committee that advocates for the homeless. And we are always here for you. So please reach out to us, whatever you need, let us know. Someone else, is there anyone else? No. Okay. Any committee members want to respond to any of the items that we have discussed so far?
I see Peter's hand still up. Is that just left over from his last comment?
Yeah. Adele?
Yeah, I just want to say that I live really close to what is it?
Sunswept.
Sunswept. And I was up there and they were not DWP people. There was not one DWP truck. And I was there when the forestry, which is city guys, came.
The
and
arborist, right?
the forest, I don't know if they were arborists. His
Okay.
name was Jim Kim. And he said, you know, this is, they're hurting the trees. You can see it. And he didn't go on the property. I don't think that they wanted, well, they made me leave the property because when I went on there, I walked right on because it was open.
Yeah.
And they are and they're also, there's concrete there. They're making concrete, and I don't know what they're doing with that. And there's rebarb there. There's like huge sheets of rebarb. I mean, what he wrote in his email is not what's happening there.
Okay.
And it definitely is not DWP, because DWP, they would identify themselves to me. I spoke to all of them and none of them, you know, said, and none of them had any official outfits on or anything like that. So that is completely not, but the
right.
trees are not protected.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
And just so you know, Adele, your signal is starting to fail. So,
Okay.
yeah, we were still in that. Anyone else? Lana, Dean, Richard,
I'm good.
Bessie? Okay. Moving on to presentation, discussion, and possible motion. Roberta's Pizza, case number ZA 2021-6930-MPA. A master plan approval to allow the sale and dispensing of beer and wine only in conjunction with a 1,493 square foot restaurant with 22 indoor seats and 14 seats on a 316 square foot patio dining area located in the shops at Sportsman's Lodge, with hours of operation from 11 a.m. to midnight daily. Connected to this application, this ZA number is connected to the master plan ZA 2020-4944 MCUP. The address is 4220 Coldwater Canyon, number 116, Studio City, California, 91604. Is Eddie here, or who is representing Roberta's Pizza?
Manny Diaz.
Manny Diaz. Hi.
Yes. How are you, Lisa? I'm doing
well,
fine.
thank you.
How long are we giving here, Lisa?
Let's do 15 minutes, please.
Wonderful. Yeah, and I have a brief presentation too. Also, I'll share my screen.
Okay.
Let's see if you can see it. Can you see that now?
Yep.
Great. So once again, my name is Manny Diaz. I'm from a company called FE Design and Consulting, and with me is Marcella Smith. She's the Director of Business Development for Roberta's. So she's on the call to answer any questions that I might not have an answer to. But yeah, we're here to ask for your support for our master plan approval for beer and wine. It's a master plan approval in conjunction with the shops at the Sportsman's Lodge project. I won't reread this. Thank you, Lisa, for reading the request. The site, of course, is at the shops at Sportsman's Lodge. It's at Coldwater Canyon and Ventura Boulevard. I'm sure that all of you are very familiar with the site. I know that other tenants have been through here asking for approvals, and I know that the developer and the property owner have been here before, and I believe they're on the agenda tonight. So I don't need to go into that too much. But what we are here for is the alcohol portion of the project. So earlier this year, the property owners did secure a master conditional use permit that allowed 10 operators to come in and get alcohol approvals. And some of the licenses were for beer and wine, some were for liquor, one was for a grocery store, and one was for like a bottle shop. One of the conditions of that master approval for the property was that each tenant would be responsible for filing their own Essentially, it's just to ensure that the tenants are aware of what's happening, that they're going to adhere to all the conditions, that their specific operations do fit in with the mode and character of the approval. And so that's the application that we're here to discuss today. The other tenants that have already they've already secured their approvals are Erewhon, Sugarfish, Pasta Uvo, Hi-Ho, and Tokaya. They've all been through this process and they've had their individual plan approvals approved. Hilo and Roberta's are the two ones that are pending now. I believe Hilo was here in front of the committee in August, I believe. They presented their request and the neighborhood council supported their project, and they supported a waiver of their final zoning administrator's hearing as well. So the Roberta's portion of the property is right, you can see on this plot plan, it's right smack dab in the middle of the shops, which I think is a great spot for a restaurant. We're gonna have a lot of foot traffic coming. So you can see it's right in the middle, and there's gonna be a small outdoor dining patio right out front, but the entirety of the license will be restricted to that hatched in area in the middle. Floor plan is just a basic restaurant floor plan. You know, 2/3 are for the kitchen and the back of house, and 1/3 is for the customer area. You can see the red numbered seats really showing you where the outdoor dining is and where the interior dining is. Here are a few photographs of what it looks like today. So obviously, I'm sure you know that the site has been under construction for quite a while, but they're getting pretty far along in the construction now. And a lot of the tenants, including Roberta's, are pulling their own building permits for their tenant improvements just to build out their individual spaces to their own specifications. But everything's moving along pretty nicely. And really quick about Roberta's. Roberta's is a great pizza concept that started in Brooklyn in 2008. It's really three guys got together and decided they were going to rent a space in Brooklyn and make pizzas in these wood-fired ovens. And it was really through this DIY kind of punk rock ethic that they started. In fact, they didn't even have gas in their building for the first year of operations, but they ran a restaurant out of this place. And just because they had really unique ingredients and a really unique menu, they really built up a cult following there, and they became pretty successful. They got a lot of press, and it led them to open up other establishments that, you know, eventually they did get gas at their original location. They're moving into another place in Williamsburg, I believe this year. They moved into the West Coast first in Culver City. They opened up the Culver City location a few years ago. You can see some photographs here. This is of the Culver City location. You can see it's a nice, neat pizza restaurant that has a really unique menu. And so they're really excited to bring that here to the Valley. You can see that they do have an existing ABC license at the Culver City location. And I included it here just so you understand. I mean, there's no disciplinary action or history against them. They've had the license for a little over 2 years. They're great operators. They do good service. And they're really somebody who's shown responsible alcoholic beverage service. So I just wanted to include that here so you can see. And then finally, you know, the request, just to reiterate it again, very simple beer and wine request at this new restaurant. You know, there's no live entertainment or dancing or anything like that. It's just a straight beer and wine license request. The beer and wine will complement the food at all times. The main primary motivating factor for going there is to get food. And just like Hilo, Roberta's, we're requesting support for our ZA hearing waiver as well. And really that's because there's already been the master plan approval, had a hearing, and we're really adhering to every single condition that was established before. Roberta's team is going to adhere to it by the letter. We're not asking for any deviations at all. So that concludes my pitch. I'm sure you guys have a long meeting, so you don't want to hear me drag on and on about this project. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, both Marcella and myself are here to answer them.
So I'll go ahead and start. This is news to me. Why wasn't I told that you were requesting a hearing waiver? Because that is not on my agenda. I did not list that, so therefore we can't vote on that.
Well, I know, Lisa, on the high-low agenda that they had, it wasn't agendized on their that neighborhood council meeting agenda either. I'm not sure when they requested it, but it wasn't put onto the official agenda that was sent out.
No, I'm actually the chair of this committee, and I did put that in the motion. So, and we did vote on that.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and open this up for questions. Peter Cole?
There, well, I'm a little lost here. Anyway, I just want to make sure that you're going to protect the neighbors. You see my picture that I have up there. This is the view that those of us on Alcove have of this property. There's no trees, there's no sound barriers whatsoever. We've lobbied hard with land use and everybody else to please limit the hours for alcohol and any of the venues over there to something reasonable during the week and weekends. That's it.
Thank you. Ruth, did you have a question or a comment? Okay. Anyone else with a comment? Thoughts? I'm going to go ahead and open it up to committee. Lana?
The hours of operation from 11 a.m. to midnight, is that meaning your kitchen is closing at midnight, or are you going to close the kitchen a little early with wrapping up for midnight to be the last, closing the doors?
Yes.
that thing?
All of our other establishments, the operating hours are 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. So that's just the norm for us. But yes, absolutely. Always with closing hours, you have to start a little early, right? So that you're done by midnight.
So your kitchen would be closing prior to the midnight. What would be the last?
Probably around 11:30. That's when we normally cut it off for a delivery platform so that we can make sure that we get all the orders to all of the guests that put them in.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah,
Yes, Richard.
just trying to have some sort of thing putting in as part of the conditions, what time will deliveries be and all that kind of stuff. You don't want to have any bottles crashing at 6 o'clock in the morning.
No, deliveries would start, we would start accepting deliveries at 11 a.m. when we open. Oh, I'm sorry, you mean vendors, that deliveries for us.
Vendors, yes.
Sorry. Those will not be at 6 a.m. We normally have a delivery window. People come in to start making our dough, sauce, and cheese around 8 a.m. before we open at 11.
Thank you.
So number 16 on our set of conditions for service industry establishments in Studio City. No deliveries that engage a truck backup alarm shall be allowed in the north parking or in the parking lot area between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. daily. No trash pickup shall be allowed between the hours of 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. daily.
That shouldn't be a problem at all.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Is that 16 or 17 on the conditions?
The conditions for the shops at Sportsman's Lodge that Erewhon, Sugarfish,
Okay.
Hi-Ho,
looking at-
Costco, Volvo, Takaya, and High-Low Liquor have signed is number 16,
Okay. Thank you.
which is what Marcella, is it?
Marcella.
Marcella and Manny, you will actually get these set of conditions for the tenant to sign. I will be sending those over to you. Anyone else?
Might I ask one more? I see Richard's hand is still up, though. I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello?
Ruth, did you
Hi,
have
this is
something to
Ruth.
say?
Yeah, a quick question. You said something about like an interesting wood burning stove situation. I was just wondering about like air quality.
We do have extensive hood systems that catch all of the smoke that comes from our gas assist wood fired ovens.
Okay, thank you.
Lana?
Lisa, I just wanted to ask, is it totally out outside of, or some way so egregious to consider making an amendment to this motion so that we could vote on it tonight, or no? Is it
that's gonna be a holiday for me.
Go ahead. What is it?
To include the exemption, or is that just egregious and wrong?
No, go ahead. Bring it to the table.
I just, so we could go ahead and vote on that, just to.
Right. Hang on a second.
Sure.
Could everybody please, thank you. Lana, go ahead. What's your friendly amendment?
To include the request for the exemption, that was mentioned by Manny, based on the master use conditional permit. I may have that all jumbled.
So the waiver,
Yes. I'm not sure how to phrase that with great clarity right now. Where it would be, let me see where that would.
so it would be, your friendly amendment would be for the hearing waiver.
Correct. Or does that have to be handled separately? That's what I.
No, it
if
doesn't.
We could, if, because then we would vote on that amendment to allow it in, right? And then
Right.
vote on the amended motion.
Correct.
So in the motion as it is written, where would it be appropriate to add, right after the operating hours, where it says with hours of operation from 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. daily,
hang on a second.
comma,
Let me just.
okay.
So,
Thank you for helping me through this, but I believe that,
yeah, give me a second.
okay.
So it would be for located at shops and
Does Culver City have a type 47 permit? And you're asking for a type 41 here?
Yeah, Culver City has a 47, but they're asking for a 41 here.
Thank you.
give me a second. Sorry. Okay, I stand corrected. Manny was right. It was not included in my land use agenda. I actually introduced it in the board agenda for the waiver. So give me 1 second. I know, I'm sorry. I just need to find it. So it would read as a master plan approval and request for a hearing waiver for Roberta's Pizza.
And do you need to include in that motion based on the master,
Yeah, a master plan approval to allow the sale and dispensing of beer and wine only, to include the request of a hearing waiver in conjunction to request a hearing waiver in conjunction with a 1,493 square foot restaurant with 22 indoor seats and so on.
okay. So,
Um,
so that is referencing the master one that.
His
was
application.
for all of
The application that
sports.
is ZA-2021-6930-MPA.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Do you accept that amendment?
I do. Do we need to?
Okay.
second, or-
So that's your amendment that you're putting forth.
Yes.
Anyone want to second that?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Dean. Let's go ahead and vote on the
Do we do
on the
discussion?
amendment, on the friendly amendment. So
Do we discuss
Richard?
that first, or?
say
Yes,
that again? Lana,
yes,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Adele, Jesse, I'm a yes.
Jesse-
Adele
Jesse's muted.
stepped out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Motion passes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and include that in the motion now that I'm going to present. Land use commission supports. Please number, and the request. Waiver. Is Adele back?
Yes.
Okay, great. And Jesse, are you back? He had a problem, so he had to step away for a second. So I'm going to go ahead and read the motion. The Land Use Committee of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports case number ZA 2021-6930-MPA and the request for a hearing waiver for Roberta's Pizza, a master plan approval to allow the sale and dispensing of beer and wine only in conjunction with a 1,493 square foot restaurant with 22 indoor seats and 14 seats on a 316 square foot patio dining area located in the shops of Sportsman's Lodge with hours of operation from 11 a.m. to midnight daily, connected to the master plan ZA-2020-4944-MCUP, located at 4220 Coldwater Canyon, number 116, Studio City, California, 91604. Let's go ahead and take a vote. Lana,
Yes.
Richard,
yes,
Dean,
Yes.
Adele,
Yes.
Lisa, yes. Jesse,
He's
Motion-
muted.
what's that?
He's muted.
He needed to run out. There was an emergency that he needed to take care of. Motion passes. Thank you, Manny. I'll go ahead and put this together for the neighborhood council meeting that will be next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Please be present to answer any questions that might come up. But the motion passes here. And I'll go ahead and send over the conditions that you need to sign for service establishments to have
Great.
sent back to me. Okay?
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
So much. Have a great night. All right, moving on to number 6 on our agenda, presentation, discussion, and possible motion. The proposed project is the residences at Sportsman's Lodge, a multifamily residential commercial mixed-use development. Proposing to demolish existing hotel and parking facilities for the construction, use, and maintenance of a 650,996 square foot mixed-use development within 3 buildings up to a maximum height of 94 feet, including 520 multifamily residential units, inclusive of 78 units restricted to very low income and 45,945 square feet of commercial floor space and 1,385 parking spaces in a 3-level subterranean garage. Case number is CPC -2021-7012 DB MCUP WDI SPP SPR VHCA located at 12805 and 12835 West Ventura Boulevard, and also 4218, 4220 Coldwater Canyon Avenue, Studio City, California, 91604. So there is Ben Besley present, and Leo Marmol, right? And Dave Rand, am I correct?
Yeah, that's right. The 3 of us will be making a presentation.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So go ahead. We're gonna give you, let's do 20 minutes, 25 minutes for the presentation. And then we'll take it from there.
Great. We'll
20 or
try
25?
Pardon?
Are we doing 25, Lisa, or 20? You said 20 or 25?
25.
Okay.
Yeah, we probably won't use that much time, but do appreciate it. So thank you, first of all, to this committee and to Lisa for getting us on the agenda this evening. I'll introduce myself and our company, and then I'm going to introduce the architect for the project, Leo Marmol, who will walk us through the highlights of this project. Leo will then hand it over to Dave Rand, who's our land use attorney, who can describe the entitlements that we're seeking and the process that we go through to get there. And then we're here to take your questions. Midwood is a family-owned real estate and development company. We've been around for more than 90 years, and we've been invested and we've been stakeholders in this neighborhood for a very long time. Our founder, Samuel Lemberg, who's the grandfather of our CEO, helped build the Sportsman's Lodge Hotel in 1962, and we still own the property today. We acquired the Shops project next door about 4 years ago, and so now we control the entire site. Midwood manages all of our own properties, and with very few exceptions, we do not sell those properties. Midwood invests with a very, very long-term perspective. My name is Ben Besley, and I'm in charge of the overall development of the Sportsman's Lodge. I live here in Los Angeles. James Gates, who is with us here tonight, is responsible for construction of this project and other endeavors that we have in Los Angeles. He's a resident of Sherman Oaks. We have 3 more full-time Midwood employees here at the property: Fred Kim, Michael Gambino, and Ryan Dunn. And these gentlemen are getting the Shops at Sportsman's Lodge, the shopping center next door, ready to open in the next few weeks. And we're really, really looking forward to having all of you and everybody in the neighborhood over to see what we've created at the Shops at Sportsman's Lodge. Have you here to enjoy a meal at Sugarfish or at Roberta's Pizza. Grab a coffee at Civil Coffee, enjoy some ice cream from Van Leeuwen, experience the buffalo cauliflower at Erewhon, and perhaps try on some new clothes at Fred Siegel or Bory or Free People Movement. More important than that, though, we want to show you and really showcase the quality of what we design, the quality of what we build, and the quality of how we manage our properties. So it goes without saying that Sportsman's Lodge is a very, very important place. We meet people all the time walking around the neighborhood, or even people who walk on site who have stories to tell about this place. Really fun parties, really important life events that happened here. And this place really means something, clearly means something to the Studio City community. And we get that. We are designing a place and a destination where you, your family, and your friends will make new memories. This project is an opportunity to expand the retail next door and add great food and shopping opportunities to what's already coming online soon. It's an opportunity to really expand the public open space and connect all this commercial and pedestrian activity to the Los Angeles River. It's an opportunity to enhance the transportation network for cars and bikes and pedestrians and really connect this corner of Studio City with the Los Angeles River. It's an opportunity to provide homes for people who live here and who want to stay here in Studio City. And these are places and spaces to create new memories. Talking under the shade of a beautiful mature tree, or meeting friends on the plaza steps of a new Riverside Park, celebrating a birthday party at one of our restaurants, or hosting a dinner party at a friend's new apartment. We are very, very excited to share this project with you. We look forward to your feedback, and we look forward to hearing your reaction to this project. And this certainly will not be our last presentation or the last time we meet. So I'm going to turn this over right now to Leo Marmol with design firm Marmol Radziner.
Thank you, Ben. So we're excited to be a part of this team supporting Midwood. And I am with, tonight I'm also with Andy Thompson, our architectural project manager. He's here, as well as Aista Sobudi. She is our landscape project manager. So Ron Radziner and I established Marmol Radziner in 1989 with the goal of continuing the powerful mid-century history of residential work here in Los Angeles. Ron actually grew up in the Valley and has observed firsthand the dramatic changes that have taken place over the decades, particularly along Ventura Boulevard. Our work in the Valley includes the LEED Platinum certified Tree People Center for Community Forestry up in Coldwater Canyon Park. And we were also the architect for Sugarfish, Hi-Ho, and Pasta Uovo in the Shops project. So our work really tries to express the identity of a project in a warm, modern design language. This blended well with Midwood's goal to celebrate the architectural character of the project and preserve the spirit of the Sportsman's Lodge. Our landscape architect for the project is Olin. They happen to be out of town this evening and were unable to join us, but Olin is based here in Los Angeles with offices also in Philadelphia, and they've spent decades focused on urban landscapes with many very notable projects here in Los Angeles. Olin worked on the LA River Master Plan since 2018, which focuses on creating 51 miles of connected public open space along the LA River. It's pretty incredible that soon we'll be able to walk, run, bike from the valley to the Pacific Ocean with many really wonderful stops along the way. And our intention is our project will be one of those stops along that corridor connecting Los Angeles. So the River Master Plan work, which Olin was involved with, makes them an incredibly valuable partner in developing this project. The dominant goal of the project is to support the need for new housing in Studio City, including the need of affordable housing. This complements the vision of expanding the existing shops project to create an active commercial residential community. So let's jump into the project and start to describe it. As many of you know, the site lies between the Los Angeles River to the north, Ventura Boulevard to the south, and Coldwater Canyon Avenue to the west. You can see that this is a deeper site than many sites along Ventura Boulevard, which provides a unique opportunity to flow from Ventura Boulevard all the way to the river path to the north. So we'd like to illustrate the major goals of the project using a few of our project renderings. First, We intend to preserve the spirit of the Sportsman's Lodge by providing publicly accessible and heavily landscaped open space for events and public gatherings. This is a view into the project from Ventura Boulevard, and it shows the pedestrian experience into the retail courtyard. And our expansion is to the right in this view, and you can see the shops project peeking out there to the left. We intend to improve the pedestrian and vehicular circulation around the site. And we're incorporating an architectural language that's rooted in the rich modern history of Los Angeles. I will say these are early renderings, but I hope you can see our desire to animate the facades with a warm, rich texture of wood, metal, masonry. The colors are kind of dark and moody, which allows the buildings to recede into the landscape and frame the relationship between the interior of the buildings and the exterior gardens. I will say modernism is at its best is about relationships. And it's the relationship between the interior and the exterior, which really animates our relationship to nature and each other. So here's a view from Coldwater Canyon of the existing access to the LA River path. And the next slide illustrates the same view with our enhanced connection to the LA River. And by connecting to this existing urban renewal project along the river, we're providing a more enjoyable experience, a more comfortable experience for walking and biking along that path for the entire neighborhood. We're providing both market rate and affordable housing. And as Ben stated earlier, Midwood will continue to provide a strong management presence to maintain the project well into the future. And finally, we intend to choreograph the construction sequencing to help minimize the impacts on the immediate neighborhood during the course of construction. So here's a site plan showing the ground level of the project. The project proposes to improve the intersections at Ventura Boulevard and Goodland Avenue, as well as the intersection of Coldwater Canyon and Valley Heart. These intersections will receive enhanced pedestrian crosswalks and traffic signals, allowing for easier and safer vehicular and pedestrian access to the project from the surrounding neighborhoods. All vehicular traffic, including the service vehicles, are directed to an underground parking garage using 2 access points. Each of those access points are at the new signalized intersections. And then also along Coldwater as well as Ventura, pedestrians are invited into the public landscape areas, connecting the existing shops with new shops and restaurants, as well as a public event space overlooking the river. Private landscaped areas are provided for the residences at the center of the project. You can see those central landscape courtyards that Andy is highlighting. This building section diagram shows how the building along Ventura Boulevard is stepping back as the building rises in height to about 50 feet 6 inches above the street. The goal is to simply minimize the building height along the edges of the project and place the taller portion of the project toward the center of the site. Now, as we all know, building heights vary pretty dramatically along both sides of Ventura, with the Crown Media building 1 block to the east rising 90 feet above the street. And this diagram also shows the structure across the street, directly across the street, which is about 30 feet above grade. So this diagram shows the similar approach we're taking regarding building height, stepping back from the river path and growing to the taller portions of the project at the center of the property. The taller portion of the project at the center rises 82 feet above ground level. The taller portion of the project is also located roughly where the existing hotel is located, and you can see the height of the existing hotel dashed in red on this diagram. I'd now like to introduce the landscape concepts that we've developed in partnership with Olin. So from Ventura Boulevard, pedestrians will experience an interactive garden as they walk down a comfortable path into the retail courtyard. The retail courtyard ultimately terminates at a plaza adjacent to the river that can hold farmers markets, cultural events, or a general gathering place for the community. There are amphitheater-like stairs that take you down to the river, while cyclists can take the ramps or elevators between the river path level and the plaza level. The design of the public spaces were guided by the natural environment found in the San Fernando Valley. The variety of native plants create a diverse habitat for insects and birds and connect visitors with some of the native plant environments found throughout the valley. So we're very excited about creating a neighborhood destination that preserves the spirit and the tradition of the Sportsman's Lodge. So I'll turn this over to Dave Rand to walk us through some of the technical portions of the planning approvals.
Thank you, Leo. Appreciate that. And good evening, everyone. My name is Dave Rand. I'm a land use attorney at the law firm Armbruster, Goldsmith, and Delbeck. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the entitlement process and our requests for this project. But before I do, I want to just lay a little bit of context. And I think it's important to acknowledge as we bring this project before you, the fact that we are, of course, in a state, regional, and local housing crisis. The city of Los Angeles is in the midst right now, as we plan this project, of developing a housing element for which it will plan for housing for the course of the next 8 years. This housing element cycle, the state and the region have allocated 450,000 new units that need to be planned for and built over the next 8 years in our city. To compare that to the last housing element cycle, the city was awarded only 82,000, a 6 times fold increase in the number of housing units, a large number of them needing to be deed restricted affordable housing units that need to be brought online to address our housing crisis. So this project is utilizing some of the tools provided under state law, specifically the state density bonus law, to achieve increased both height and FAR in order to accommodate the project and the very large, relatively large percentage of deed restricted affordable housing units included in the development, which total 15% of the total units. And while I know that the 520 units in the project is a large number, it is a large number for Ventura Boulevard and for Studio City, this is also, as Leo mentioned, a unique site, a deep site that we believe can accommodate and can handle this level of density. And while Leo showed you the site on the map in pictorial form, I want to give you some data points that I think highlight that fact. The site is 250,000 square feet in total lot area. The amount of units that are permitted under the zoning at this site is actually 633. If you award a by right density bonus to that number that could be provided based on the number of affordable housing units in this project, we could build 855 units at this site. And 855 units with actually significantly less affordable than this project is proposing. So the 520 units is well under the permitted density that could actually be constructed at the property. Now, in order to accommodate 15% of the total units for deed restricted affordable housing, given construction costs and the sheer cost involved in building a project like this, deviations are necessary. And the requests under the state density bonus law, it is very clear under state law, supersede provisions in the underlying Ventura Corridor specific plan. So the requests for increased height and increased square footage, we have a few other technical requests, but those are the two most significant ones, are made as part of density bonus incentive requests that do not need to also come with specific plan exception requests, which are deviations I'm sure you're more typically used to seeing for projects that don't include affordable housing on Ventura Boulevard. So with those two requests, we have some additional technical requests for some yard adjustments, as well as some transitional height relief in the back. We're seeking a master conditional use permit for future alcohol outlets, which will of course have to come back to you and individual tenants are selected, as you just heard from Roberta's Pizza. Site plan review, project permit compliance, and of course, an environmental review process through the California Environmental Quality Act that will result in full and comprehensive studies of all environmental impacts associated with the project, including traffic, noise, air quality, greenhouse gas emissions, and the like. Because of the nature of our requests through the state density bonus law, our main approval process will be through the citywide planning commission. We will have an initial hearing examiner hearing that we are ways off from, but that would be our first hearing step in the process, followed by CPC and ultimately potentially on to the city council. We are very early in our process. There is a long road to go. Ben wanted to come to you early at the outset to have this conversation. But as I said, and as Ben said, we look forward to the discussion, to future presentations, to working with you to bring what we believe is a very special, important project to Studio City that will provide housing opportunities for people of all income levels, including those folks who work in Studio City who can't otherwise afford to live here. 78 affordable units, a very big deal at this location at this point in time, given where our city is on housing issues. So on behalf of our team, thank you very much. We look forward to taking your questions and answering any questions you have. Thank you.
Yeah. And Leo and Dave, thanks so much for that presentation. And see, there are already some hands raised, and so we'd love to get to answer some questions. But before we do that, I just would like to suggest that this is the first presentation that we have made, the first formal presentation that we've made to any organization, and the neighborhood council is of course the place that we would make that presentation. So we're very happy to be here. Finally, we expect it to be the first of many, and I'll leave it to the discretion of the committee members and the chair of the committee as to how to proceed. But we are more than happy to come back to meet with smaller groups of people, to do this via Zoom or even meet here on site. And with that, we'll look forward to your comments.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, everyone, for that presentation. If you could bring your slide down. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, well, rather large, yet impressive. Beautiful detail. So I have lots more to say, but we'll go ahead and take questions first. Ruth, did you want to start? Ruth?
Hi, thank you. Hi, that was a really good presentation. Thank you. A quick note, I noticed in the last presentation as well as this one, you used the language a few places of master plan. Please consider changing that to comprehensive plan. The language is racist. I wanted to inquire about well, I'm very, very happy to hear about the affordable housing. And I think that a lot of people can identify with working in Studio City, but not affording to live here. And one concern I had was the public spaces. I just wanted to know if they were going to be fully public, or if they were going to be something like they have in New York, the privately owned public open spaces. So if you have any information on that, thank you.
Thank you. Just real quick, I wanted to answer her question about the master versus the comprehensive. We actually don't, neither the land use committee or the applicants choose to use those words. They are actually given to us by the planning department of Los Angeles. So that's what we have to work with. So we apologize if we've offended you in any way. Who wants to go ahead and answer her question?
I can answer that question. So the public space that we've identified as public, and that is the obviously the public right of way and the setbacks along Coldwater and Ventura, the retail areas that then continue down to the Los Angeles River and the access points to the river, and all of the space that we're building out adjacent to the river is public and remains open. Doesn't close off at night. We'll take design considerations for safety in terms of lighting and lines of sight and that sort of thing, but it would remain open. There is a private area in the middle of the project for the residents. So there at some point is a control point so that the residents have their own secure area in the middle of the project. But what is public remains public throughout the day and night.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Will there be 24/7 security, actual bodies walking around?
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have Richard Niederberg.
Yeah, my question is, with 3 stories of subterranean parking, it seems to me you're getting very close to the aquifer sits underneath the river. In fact, that whole concrete thing is sitting in it and the water actually touches the underside if you've done your engineering. So just going as deep as your foundation might not be adequate in order to, in case if there is a lot of water in the aquifer. I know you've already looked at that. I'm wondering, did you look thoroughly enough to give yourself enough extra area, because there's so much water down there. This is a dry spot now, but we're going down 3 levels rather than 2. I'm a little concerned about safety, but also your investment. Thank you.
Right, the water table is a definite concern. I'm sure you'll address that again. So moving on to Truman Caps. Hi.
Hi there. Yes. This project looks totally awesome. I'm really excited about it. As a renter who's been living in Studio City for 10 years, we have a severe shortage of rental housing, and I'm super excited that this is going in. My question, just with regard to the market rate units and the low income units, will there be separate entrances for them? Will market rate tenants be segregated from low income tenants, or will everyone be able to enter and leave through the same doors and have access to the same amenities on site?
Everybody, all tenants, regardless of income level or type, will have access to the same amenities. The units will be, the affordable units, I should say, will be evenly dispersed throughout the development. So they won't be concentrated on the ground floor. They will be every bit as good in quality and location as the market rate units. And the unit types of the affordable units in terms of bedroom types and as well as size will be commensurate with the market rate units as well.
I love it. Great. Thank you so much. I'm excited about this project.
And how will you choose the applicants for low income units?
Dave, do you want me to start on that one, or do you want to?
Sure. Why don't you start?
Yeah. So there is a process that the Department of Housing, Community Investment and Development, HCID, has for projects like this, and they're actually part of the group that identifies which units and in which location, as Dave was describing. So there's a qualification process, and we would open up that application process to anybody and everybody, and then we're responsible for qualifying them. I believe we submit those qualifications to HCID, and then the city has to approve, that these are actually verified, qualified tenants, and then they can sign a lease and move in.
And do they provide you the forms for applicants to fill out?
I don't know the answer to that question. Do you know, Dave?
They have the forms, but the owner can find the tenants. And so we and our project team have talked about really the unique possibility and potentials here for bringing 78 very low income units online at one time in this location. And so I think there's a unique opportunity to work with the neighborhood council and other stakeholder groups to identify potential tenants here who work in the area, who want to live in the area but can't, but for this project coming online. And not only does that provide housing opportunities for people, which is on its face a good thing, it also has vehicular trip reduction benefits. If there's a way in which to capture folks who work here, who can also live here, it takes cars off of Ventura Boulevard, reduces greenhouse gas emissions, provides environmental benefits. So look forward, I think, to working with you and hearing your ideas about how we can best achieve that benefit and identify the right tenant base for this project.
Thank you for that. So just so everyone understands and it's clear that the density bonus is a big deal for this project to get approved as is. As it was mentioned, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of discussion around it, is that it is state law. Okay, so did you want to talk about that again a little bit, or should we take some more questions? I think I'm getting ahead of myself, but let's take some more questions and then we'll come back to that. Lana, go ahead.
Hi, I just want to be very gentle in this comment in regards to the applicants for your 78 units that would be designated for residents of a certain income level, that the housing, HCID, Housing and Community Investment Group, may be happier with the fact that you would open up an application process to any applicants that might be able to submit and meet your qualifications.
Absolutely. Yeah,
right,
that's part of our process, for sure.
And you are going to set out some of your own qualifications with that application. Is that my understanding? And then HCID will also agree to that set of terms?
Yeah, the most important thing that HCID is looking for is that the prospective tenants meet the income eligibility requirements. So to live in one of the 78 very low income units, someone has to be making 50% or less than the area median income. The rent of a studio very low income unit right now translates to a little under $600 a month. So it's a heavily subsidized unit compared to what a market rate unit will be going for in a new development. And so LAHDH said is primarily concerned with ensuring that all of those tenants are income qualified, that the verification process has been conducted thoroughly, and that's an annual reporting obligation. Every year, the ownership has to go through that process to make sure that every tenant is continuing to meet the income requirements on an ongoing basis.
That's great to know. Thank you, Dave. I really appreciate that. Thanks for letting me comment.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you. Adele?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. One, you had mentioned that you built the lead buildings up at Tree People. Are you planning on making these lead buildings?
I can answer that. At this time, we are not committed to do that. I've developed a number of different housing projects throughout the state of California, and have found that in many cases the process of going through LEED certification, it's a very thorough process. I'm sure you know it, but so many of the state laws around energy conservation and site massing and sort of the design principles that Marmor Radziner sort of incorporates into its buildings to begin with, we end up meeting those qualifications just by following the law and kind of good design. So I would say at this point we're not planning on it. No.
I think you should consider it. Also, one of the things that I'm looking at your design, as beautiful as it looks in your renderings, I'm missing the feeling of the Sportsman's, lodge, the face of it. And I know, you talked about building new memories, but there are lots of old memories I know a lot of people who have, used to just walk into the lodge and swim in the pool. And I was wondering if you had any thought of saving that pool, because it's it's actually one of the most amazing pools I've ever seen. The swimming pool in the lodge. Any thought to that?
Yeah, no, the swimming pool would go along with the hotel. And it is a great swimming pool. A lot of people have enjoyed it. Some of them hotel guests, some of them neighbors. Some folks had keys to the door that we didn't know they had keys to the door.
I know a few of those people. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But no, I think when we're thinking about, the spirit of the Sportsman's Lodge, I mean, looking back at the architecture that has been here, it kind of comes from all different points of the middle of the century. And so I think what we're trying to capture is really and Leah will do a better job describing this than I would, but it's really the essence of a mid-century design that really focuses on the relationship between the indoor and the outdoor, with very crisp lines and, strong horizontal elements. And I think this is hopefully what you'll experience when you come to the Shops project, is that we've really spent a lot of time thinking about the hardscape and the landscape and where you're going to stand on a hot day and where you can stand next to some water and in some shade and, like have those sorts of outdoor experiences. And then, the interior, being, whether it's, shopping or dining or something like that. So, but Leo, I should let you respond to this.
You actually did a wonderful job. I'm not sure I need to add to that. I think that, there is a sense of loss when you remove a structure that's been there a long time. And we struggled with that. But we're changing the program dramatically. It's a different building type. We're doing long-term housing versus transient housing, a hotel. It's interesting. The Shops building was actually the project that removed the actual Sportsman's Lodge. What we're removing is the hotel that stood and stands there today. The reality is the hotel is just no longer a viable enterprise, and Ben could speak to that. So yeah, I sense, I feel the loss of it as well.
I mean, there's no point in the hotel is sort of trashed at this point, but it would be really cool. I notice you have no pool there at all. It would be really cool to save that pool. But anyway, I have a couple more thoughts before my time is up, but it looks like, I don't even know how to describe what it looks like you're going to do along the river, which is bring the whole ground down to the river. Because right now, when you go walk on the river, you go down and then there's a big cliff or a mountain next to you, and then up above is where the parking lot, etc. is. And it looks like you're bringing all that down to the river. And it also kind of looked like that was going to be concrete there. Not like decomposed granite or something more permeable.
Yeah, it's interesting. The site actually slopes a great deal. Ventura is higher and the river is lower. So when we create kind of a level platform for the ground level off of Ventura, we end up higher than the river path.
Right.
So we are stepping down to the river, and then we step up as the structure kind of moves back and kind of steps away from the river path to kind of open up that.
So you're not building the buildings at the river level.
They're not actually at the river path. They're slightly above that, but yes, there's a level of housing near the river level, and then we're stepping up as we move back into the site.
So then how are you going to do noise mitigation to the neighborhood?
Well, it's a great question. I think much of that is landscape buffering. We also have
Landscape doesn't
by-
buffer that kind
by-
of noise, as far as I know.
it's distance and landscape that are the primary.
Well,
kind
and
of-
I think yeah, and I think we have a precedent. That's a great question, and these are the sorts of things that we're going to spend some more time coming up with some, actual, design details for and studies for and that sort of thing. But we have a great example of what an apartment is like next to a river, because there is one right at Coldwater and the river. There's I think a 3 or 4 story apartment building, right at the end of Alcove. So it's, yeah, people would be living there, but I think what people are typically doing, in their homes or even on a balcony is not. It's the same thing that anybody can do in their front yard.
Yeah,
So-
there's no commercial component on the riverside. On our project, the commercial component is to the kind of center and toward Ventura. The riverside is a housing component. So there's only housing. There's no commercial sound coming from the project.
And my last thing is, I know that you're super proud of 78 units of low-income housing, but the city is 50% short of low-income housing. And I heard on Warren Olney's Next This Way LA, a housing woman talking about that we've overbuilt market rate apartments by 40%, and by 40% we need more affordable housing. So it seems, we don't need more, 1-bedroom apartments that are whatever. I don't even know what do they go for, $3,000 a month or what. We don't need that. People, low-income housing is $54,000 a year, which, I think a lot of people would need more. If you're going to build that many units, I think you should do more for affordable housing and low-income people. That's because the problem, because on Warren Olney's show, the woman had said that 40% of market rate housing are sitting empty. And so you don't want to have your apartment sitting empty. That's my 2 cents on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Adele. I'm going to go to Kira Durbin and then Peter Cole right after. Go ahead, Kira.
Thanks. First off, I want to thank Lana for bringing up the housing application. It's only for the first time this year that there is now one place that everyone can go to apply for affordable housing. And I'll be happy to send you that link if you like, Lana or Lisa. Could you repeat for my slow brain, sorry, 78 units and what tier? Low income, very low income, and sorry, I'm just a little slow today. Thank you.
No problem. It's all very low income units, which is 50 people making 50% of the area median income, which is about $69,000 right now. So in the neighborhood of 35 to 40,000 a year. So people at that income level, and the units are restricted by covenant for a 55-year period. And they're frozen rents, and they raise only very incrementally and modestly on an annual basis. And I gave earlier the price point for a studio unit at the very low income level, which is a little under $600 a month right now. So heavily subsidized restricted rent levels.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. I disagree with the earlier statement. 78 very low income units is 78 more than we have now. And I'm probably the only very low income person on this call. So thank you.
I appreciate that. And just to respond, and Adele, I take your point. You're right. We have an affordability crisis in the city. That's 100% true. What I would say is that in this instance, this housing is being built, unlike a lot of projects around the city, where nobody is being displaced. There's no housing that's being removed to bring this new housing, market rate and affordable online. And what people typically complain about in the city of Los Angeles about density bonus projects is they take the maximum amount of market rate density and provide the fewest number of very low income units. In this case, we're taking 0 market rate density bonus we're building 100+ units under the permitted density and providing substantially more very low income units than are required under the law. So this is a project that may be unlike any other right now in the city of its type, this type of privately, 100% privately financed, no public subsidy, mixed income project, not displacing anyone, with 15% of the total units, not pre-density bonus, but 15% of the total units for very low income, deep affordability levels. That is rare when it comes to these types of projects in this city.
Great, thank you. Peter Cole?
Brad, I think you said.
Peter, we can
sorry,
hardly hear you.
Sorry, let me get closer. I think it was mentioned that the affordable units are based on the percentage of the median income of the area. Well, that number is $97,000, not $63,000 a year. And then you also said that as far as noise, there's no commercial being built on the river. I've asked Ben many times to add sound mitigation to the current project, and I've just basically been blown off on why I need that, whatever. Now I understand why, because there is a 2-story, looks to me commercial, because it says there's restaurants and stores on the first floor directly behind Erewhon. So you're building another 2-story structure that's closer to the neighbors. So a little bit of word salad there. Also, if we're putting in over 500 units, where does all this water come from, and the electricity and the sewage? It just, that's something I just don't understand. And anyway, and Ben, I'm still waiting for an answer on redesigning those lights to shield Alcove, because we're blinded over there and you haven't answered about that. So cutting to the chase, we have a little distrust here of your words, because I think we've had lots of conversations, and I will not say that the quality of my life has been preserved with the addition of the Sportsman's Landing, or whatever we're calling that shopping mall over there. And this new project, 97 feet tall in the middle, it's built right up to the river that I can see. So with anything, this is going to be even closer to the residents. I fail to see how you're going to make us happy over here, but thanks. And it's not going to happen with trees to make your project disappear. You need to scale it back. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Peter. Scott Mendel.
Hi, thanks, Lisa. I just wanted to bring up traffic. I know it might be a little premature, but that's a lot of apartments, more stores, a lot of cars. And earlier in the meeting, the project at Sunswept was mentioned. And there's also something coming up at Harvard Westlake. I just can't see how Ventura Boulevard and Coldwater Canyon are going to be able to handle this influx of people. And as far as public transit, I don't know if any of you have ever ridden the Ventura Boulevard bus. They canceled the Rapid. I think it's going to be replaced with something else. But the people moving in here and their guests, and the people shopping at Sportsman's and going to Sunswept and going to Harvard Westlake, they're not taking public transportation. They're driving cars. And I'm not sure if I understood the diagram correctly, but it looked like there were 2 entrances for this, one on Ventura and one on Coldwater, with a new light, a new signal at Valley Heart. Are those the same 2 entrances for the shops? And I look forward to the traffic study that the new signal on Valley Heart will be gridlocked. Cars will not be able to get in and out during peak traffic. I just don't understand or can see how the area can sustain that number of increase in automobile traffic. And by the way, people were displaced. Whoever said no one was displaced, there were people living under the overhang of the Sportsman's garage. and they were cleared out. And you guys welded that shut. And there's actually a few people living on the ramp right now and under the catwalk. So I'm sure there'll be a few more displaced there. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for those questions. We actually invited our transportation engineers, Gibson Transportation, and that's Pat and Rich Gibson, joined the call. And so I know there were a couple of different questions or a couple of different comments in there. I'm not sure, Rich, if you caught all of those, but if you want to go ahead and respond to some of it, and then I'll try to follow up with whatever else I can.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are all issues we're going to look at in the traffic study for sure. We're going to have to perform signal warrants for Valley Heart and the other entrants as well. We're going to have to do the standard VMT analysis as well. So all of this will be covered and studied as part of this project. And ultimately, LADOT makes the decision on whether or not signals are the right idea to put in here. So we're going to look at everything and hopefully have a study that you're happy with at the end of the day.
Yeah, and Scott, let me know if I don't address any of your questions. But first of all, on the entrances, yes, those are the two entrances that are currently there. Actually, there are currently 3 driveways to the property. We would be closing one of them to create the pedestrian entrance on Ventura. So we'd be down to 2 entrances. One aligns with Valley Heart and the other aligns with Goodland. So there'd be the entrances that are there now. There's, I think what we'll see when Gibson completes its traffic study is that there are a lot of, there's a lot of numbers. This is a very engineering heavy study where you're trying to, project where people are coming from and where they're going to and who's turning right and left. And that's all part of the study. But I think what, one of the things about this project, again, another unique thing about this project is, and it's captured to some degree in the study, but I think what we're really trying to capitalize on is, this is what mixed use development is meant to be. It's a place where if you lived here, you could actually conduct most of your life and not have to leave. You wouldn't have to get in your car. We're really, focused on access to the Los Angeles River Path. So that's a way to bike around Studio City, walk around Studio City. Dave mentioned the affordable tenants that could move in here at some point, could all be people or a lot of them who work around here. And so that further reduces trips. So yeah, I mean, some of the engineering is based on, existing models because, that's what the city has to work with. But we're really trying very hard to be conscientious about how this is going to operate. And again, that's, I think, what I was trying to stress earlier in how Midwood looks at these investments. We're going to live with this. We will live with, the traffic if our residents can't get in and out. I mean, it's something we'll avoid at any cost. So absolutely appreciate your questions. And is there something that we didn't address here?
So what are the studies and the reports going to be ready and available? For instance, I'm very concerned about the electricity, the sewage, like where is all this poop going to go, for lack of a better word? I'm sorry, but it's very concerning.
So on infrastructure, as I mentioned, we have a fulsome CEQA process where there'll be tons of technical reports and studies to show each infrastructure component of the project and proving up adequacy. So that's sewers, that's electricity, that's natural gas. Gentleman earlier mentioned water. Well, 520 units does something special with respect to scrutiny about water supply. It triggers a special requirement called the need to prepare a water supply assessment under state law, which is a far more robust water demand, water supply analysis than you have on your typical smaller projects. It has to go to the DWP board specially for review. It results in additional water conservation feature mandates imposed on the project that go beyond Cal Green and the LA Green Building Code, which in and of themselves are stringent. So the project will be subject to a lot of scrutiny with respect to its environmental impacts, its demands and impositions on local infrastructure, and all that will be fully vetted and disclosed in the CEQA document. I would expect that to be circulated for public review in a few months from now. We'll of course make sure that Lisa, you and your committee get advanced copies of that, special copies when it goes public for your access. But it will all be in there, and it will all be dissected in great detail.
Any other studies that we are looking forward to in the next couple of months, or are we just going to?
Well, we have to look at everything. We have to look at aesthetics, noise, air quality, greenhouse gas emissions, all the utilities, potential for tribal resources, cultural resources, paleontological resources. There's a laundry list of environmental review studies, analyses, components. The traffic study Rich mentioned is, a life of its own. So it will all be packaged as part of the environmental review and go out for public review and contained in that document. But there will be many of those types of analyses.
Anyone else? Lana.
Hi, sure. Thanks so much. I really appreciate this comprehensive presentation, and I'd just like to speak to the world-class design that has been shown to us. It really seems to put us in another level of, I don't know, world-class city living in a way. And yet I would like to comment and support sort of where I think Adele was chatting about the spirit of the sportsman's, maybe not so much to me, spirit of sportsman's, but because it is so world-class in its design, there's a little bit about it looking so slick and modern and gorgeous lines that it sort of misses a little bit of how you call it home. It does look, like big city living, which is great. But I just wondered how maybe you might think going forward to use whatever accents you could, whether it is in changing color palette in a way to make it a little bit more warm. I know Mr. Marmon, am I saying that right? Is
Marmol. Yes.
Marmol, Mr.
Yes.
Marmol had mentioned, the pleasing natural blending in, which looks lovely, and yet I kind of want to feel like it could be anybody's home, and that anyone that would see it would just be envious to live there, which of course it does in a lot of ways look like that now, but that sort of personalized home appeal, I guess, is sort of just my personal take on that, whether it's incorporated or not. And some of the things that I believe California can use more of definitely are shade trees and water. So if there is some kind of consideration of installing some type of water source, a pool or something like that, I believe it would be very, very welcomed, or less of that heat-inducing concrete. And then going to my next question, which may be towards your infrastructure comments, Dave. Can you tell me a little bit about your thoughts on are you going to have like buried cable? Are there going to be cell phone towers? Like what are your thoughts there? Because we know that with concrete and steel and certain materials, you have some challenges with your internet. And knowing this town and the people who are dedicated to their streaming services, we would certainly want to make sure that would be a wonderful amenity that a resident would find and be happy with too. So thank you.
That's a great question. And it's funny that you actually mentioned that, because telecommunications analyses is the newest requirement that needs to be analyzed under the California Environmental Quality Act. brand new. So we actually have to look exactly at that and what the telecommunications infrastructure is going to be for the project, how it will be accommodated, will it be adequate, all of that stuff. And so I don't have that answer for you right now, but I can tell you it is one of the things that we're obligated to study as part of the public process.
Oh, that'd be really great. And then just one final thing about the traffic study. I would like to ask if the traffic study is going to include when the shops open. Is that going to be a part of that time frame that you study the traffic once the shops open? They're at, Sportsman's.
Well, I can take that last one real quick. We include all known and related projects. So anything that we know of that's going on that's part of planning's process at any point, the traffic for those projects is going to be included as a background condition, and the shops would certainly be a part of that.
As will the, forgive me, the Harvard Westlake project is also a related project that we studied for cumulative impact purposes in the traffic study.
Great, lovely. So that, is there a date set to begin that study or some time frame that you are shooting for with the start of your traffic study, or has it already started in that area? Kind of.
No, we've definitely already started the process for sure. So there's no way for us to meet Ben's timelines if we don't get a little ahead of things. So
oh, sure, lovely.
we already have started the process for sure. So
Okay.
we have our traffic counts and some of our preliminary analysis done.
And that'll come with dates. So a marked date of when the shops open, as and drawing traffic, versus prior to the opening, I guess.
No.
But if you could make a distinction of that, that would be.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll tell you the exact day that we conducted the traffic counts, and that'll let you know what was open and what wasn't on that date. And anything that wasn't open and fully operational, we'll generate the traffic and distribute it to the system to make sure we're looking at the full picture.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, and I just
Sure.
appreciate everything. And I probably have lots more to say, but I'm gonna end it there. But thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Adele?
I just had one quick question I forgot to ask. I can't believe it. How many trees that are existing there are you taking down?
So there are 89 trees.
89, wow.
89 trees on the property. So how many? I think one protected tree.
No, not, there's one protected tree adjacent to us, not on our property, and that will be preserved as part of the project. So we will not be removing any protected trees. That is the goal. And the trees on site would be replaced that are being removed.
All
So
of the
89
trees?
trees would be removed? Sorry, Adele.
Trees will be removed, but they will be replaced with new trees.
So how old are the trees that you're planning on removing?
That I don't know off the top of my head. Do you know?
I mean, some of them have been here. They all have been here for different periods of time. So,
Some of
a
them
long
have
time.
been here since the 50s?
I would venture to
Oh,
guess.
probably
I
longer.
put some eyes on those
Sure.
trees, and they are quite mature trees. I would venture to say 50 or older easily.
So, in Santa Monica, in 1 year, they cut down only 3 mature trees for construction. It would, you can't, I don't care how much you replace them, those trees will not sequester carbon at the same rate those mature trees do for another 20 to 50 years. And I would really urge you to try and use your really wonderful architect to figure out how you could save some of those trees. Those trees are, and we know what the UN just said about climate change, and what we cannot afford to put more carbon into our city and into our earth. And we have to really think about saving mature trees. I don't care if they're protected or not, they're mature, they're sequestering carbon, they're making it so we can breathe and so that our air is cool. And I really think that you should go back to the drawing board on those trees. Because as we know, the Sportsman's Landing took out 90 trees.
I would like to support Adele in that urging and challenge Mr. Marmal, am I saying that correctly? To incorporate the most mature trees on the property, which are stunning shade trees. I do not have the expertise in how to do that, but I would trust your judgment in being able to incorporate those trees, because it makes a marked difference. For some reason, I can't even use that word properly. I apologize. But coming out of walking in the sun, even on a pleasant day, when you go under those shade trees that are in that current parking area right now, it makes it a much more pleasant day. I mean, the temperature changes significantly. It's quite beautiful. So, thanks.
Thank you, Lana. Thank you, Adele. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm finished. Sorry, I'll take my hand down.
Anybody else? Anyone?
I think there's somebody with 561. Is there a hand up over here?
We already talked to her.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. So,
Jesse had his hand up.
oh, I'm sorry, Jesse. Where? I didn't
Yeah.
see it.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, your actual hand, not
Yeah.
your virtual hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Sorry.
feels like it makes more of an impression than that little one in the corner.
Right.
One thing that Studio City is lacking besides affordable housing is actual, viable and attractive hotel properties. I'm sure we can all agree.
Yes.
Has there been any thought given to, it seems like the ship has sailed on any thought given to a refurbishment and rehabilitation of the existing property, the existing structure on the property, but has there been any thought given to incorporating a hotel element, perhaps a boutique hotel element, in this design?
Sure. I think that the answer is absolutely. We did spend, when I started on working on this project about 4 years ago, we spent the first few years actually working with pretty much every boutique hotel you could think of, and the major flags, and had everybody out here. We went to all the conferences and we looked at all kinds of different, refurbishment versus, full remodel. And the trouble we kept running into is that, and it's true of the way this hotel was operating before COVID, is that this has over time, two things have happened. One is the business of hotels really relies on weekday business traffic. Like that's what sustains the hotels. And this location being where it is close to Universal Studios, what really drives it is tourism. And so we had really, pretty good summers. And then from, September through May, we really, really struggled. And so I think, and then you have the fact that there's so much more hotel development that's happened in Hollywood and downtown and near Universal Studios, Universal City. So we did study it very hard. That was actually the first plan, but we just couldn't land on anything that made sense.
Thank you for that, Jesse. Do you have any more to ask, or you're done? Okay. Anyone else?
Yes.
Richard Niederberg? Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Two things. One is I would love to have some swans or swan motif. I guess it doesn't fit in. But you find a swan, I'd love to see it there. More importantly, though, is we've had in the past so many tour buses paying top rent to park there in the hotel or the other parking lots, same one thing. Is there a way basically of not having any more of the tour buses, whether they be legitimate rock brands or they be personnel? It seems to me that those buses caused hassles before, as well as taking parking spaces.
Sure. I don't think we have any, the reason the tour buses are here is because we have a hotel here. So they were coming here to stay at the hotel, and without a hotel, I don't know that any tour bus would necessarily want to park here versus, any other parking lot in Studio City. And then I think practically speaking, the way the parking is designed in this project, I don't think we would, we've never discussed it, and I don't think it's even feasible because they wouldn't, make it down the ramp, for example.
What about motion picture production vehicles?
I don't know. We'll look into it. We'll look into it.
That again might be a height thing, Richard. Just
That has nothing to do with this project right now.
parking has always something to do with it.
Okay, well, we're just talking about the residences right now. So thank you for that. Anyone else before we move on? Okay, so
Hey, Lisa,
yeah.
would you mind if I just made just a very quick comment or kind of run down a list that I've made?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so thank you very, very much for these questions and comments. It really is very helpful for us to, think about things from the perspective of people who, have spent months and years in the area and kind of, think about things as they walk or drive down the street. What I heard is, a question about aquifers from Richard, question about the affordable requirements and that process from Truman and Kira, kind of the spirit of the Sportsman's Lodge and that, kind of seeing if there's a way to more literally connect the old Sportsman's Lodge project from Lana. Peter and Adele both mentioned noise. And so we do have a technical study on that. But we're planning on actually hiring somebody outside of the CEQA just to really understand it. It's something that Peter Cole and I've talked about, since I first started on this project. Lisa, you talked about the utilities, and I think that'll be addressed in the CEQA document. But we'll make sure, that you get a chance to look at that. Traffic and vehicles, I think, a lot of people are concerned about that, but specifically, Scott, you had concerns about that. Lana, and then Richard, in terms of what types of vehicles. Adele and the tree comment, totally hear you. I'm a huge fan of trees. We've done a lot in the Shops project to, go above and beyond and challenge accepted. So we'll work on that one. And then Richard, we're going to look at swans.
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. So I have some thoughts and some comments. This is a very large project for Studio City. This, I would say, is probably the biggest unit-wise apartment building residences that would be going into Studio City in a very congested intersection corner of Coldwater Canyon and Ventura Boulevard. I am not happy about the height. I think 94 feet in lieu of 30 feet is massive. And 8 stories high is just something that is extraordinary to me, that we're actually even contemplating it. And the fact that we are is because of the density bonus that you and your team have been so eloquent to make work for this project. I understand the 78 affordable units, and kudos to you for that, but you're taking full advantage of it. And presenting a project that is so huge for this neighborhood and this community. And it doesn't make me happy. I'm not excited about it. The design is lovely, but everything else, the 0 foot rear yard, that is just, what is the word I'm looking for? Someone throw it out.
Egregious.
We don't have a 0 foot rear yard, just to clarify. We have a 20-foot rear yard that is being observed. We have a technical portion of the P1 garage that is daylighting. So that's a technical exception we need to ask. But if you are experiencing the rear of the property, you will see a 20-foot setback essentially from the property line.
Really? Because I did not read that in your paperwork.
Because we asked for a 0 rear yard because of the technical protrusion of the P1 level at that area. But if you're standing there, it has to do with the grade change and the daylighting of the garage. It's a technical request. It is not, we're not going lot line to lot line, Lisa. That's not the intent of that specific request.
I have a word, but
Go ahead.
it's
What
not
is it?
meant to be offensive, but it is ostentatious.
Ostentatious, thank you. Waiver for the transitional height, the FAR in excess of 35% increase in a 1.0.1 to 2.83.1 FAR. It is just mind-numbing to me that this is going to actually happen because of these findings in state law. I am so upset about it that that I just really don't know what else to say other than looking at my notes, thank you. It's just very complicated. It's so what I propose, having said all that, because we're looking at density bonus, we're looking at the master conditional use permit, we're looking at a waiver of dedication or improvement from the mobility plan, the specific plan, the site plan review, because it's over 50 units, and the Vesting Housing Crisis Act of SB 330. So because you have a date of expedited date where our reports are due by November 8, 2021.
What is that requirement, Lisa?
Yeah, just to clarify, there's no date certain that this project.
There's a recommendation reports due by 11/8.
That has no binding effect whatsoever, that nothing will happen on that date.
No, I mean, we have to get our recommendations in by 11/8 to planning, because you've asked for an expedited processing.
We're in the expedited unit, but we won't go to our first public hearing for many, many, many months. We haven't even circulated our CEQA document yet. We're really early in the process. I'd love for you to be right, but I don't think anything magical.
I'm just looking
is
at
gonna
the
happen
planning
earlier.
paperwork where it says recommendation reports due by 11/8/2021. Please forward reports to the following email address.
That may be an internal thing, but is that when they're saying that your neighbored council comments are due? I've never heard that before. That's interesting to
Lisa,
me.
is there a way to ask for some clarification on who set that date? And to one of the things that has struck me is that we have many experts they're bringing information, and they're great experts.
What happened? Why'd you mute? Hold on.
I shouldn't be muted. Can you hear me? Hello?
Mhm. Now we can.
You dropped out.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So the folks that are coming to us with this project are world class in what they do, and they're experts, and they've had many years in planning this, and they're bringing it to our community. And I believe that we definitely need a little bit more time to bring this into digestible pieces, with everything that sort of needs to be educate our community a little bit about what's going on, because it is an overwhelming project, and
It's very overwhelming.
It would be helpful to.
All right.
And we did not expect a decision or a vote or anything.
No, but I know you do.
Well, your prerogative. The thought is we would take your questions, we'd come back again with more information. And we have a long time to do that, given our process. So I don't know what the November date you're citing.
Okay, so what I propose is that we form an ad hoc committee and have them work with Ben and whomever else. And what I also propose is for the Land Use Committee of the Studio City Neighborhood Council request Councilman Krikorian to request a full EIR report, along with a historic resources report and a cultural resources report to be submitted. So that is what I would like to.
Both those reports will be in our CEQA document, a historic
Amazing.
report and a cultural report. That's
Perfect. But I'd like to send this letter to Councilman Krikorian asking for a full EIR to request that.
And Lisa, what's the purpose of requesting a full EIR?
To really get to know every single element that's going to go into this 500 and some odd unit building.
So
and the environment, the environmental impact that it will have on the community, on the surrounding community.
Yeah, it's not
Everyone else
uncommon.
involved.
It's not
What?
uncommon. It's not uncommon that we've asked for that with other projects. It's not out of the norm for us to request an EIR.
So the way the city makes the determination as to what level of CEQA document, and all the reports that we've talked about tonight will have to be included. So that's standard. If there's an impact that can't be mitigated, the city has to prepare an EIR. If the impacts can be fully mitigated, which is our hope and expectation, and I think would be yours as well, to show that we can actually address our impacts, then the project can potentially qualify for a more limited form of environmental review that is still very robust and includes every technical report that would be included in an EIR. Because this is a housing project, it's potentially eligible for what's called a Sustainable Community Environmental Assessment, which is a document every bit as thick and report heavy as an EIR. It's a different form of CEQA documentation. And if the impacts can be mitigated, that's what the city, I would expect that they would proceed with. If there's an impact that can't be mitigated, the EIR would be required as a matter of law. So I would hope that you wouldn't prejudge that process. Let the environmental review process take its course, understanding fully well that you deserve and were required to put together all of the reports and the analytics that you've talked about tonight, from hydrology to traffic to cultural resources to historic. That will all be in our documentation. But that is a City of LA process that again, but I hope you wouldn't prejudge.
Okay.
And actually, and I'm sorry, Lisa, but this is kind of a question for Dave, I'm asking this on the fly, but that date, if it's something that the planning department has posted, is something that we can ask to have extended, right? Like if trying to compress a decision or something like that isn't going to give you enough time to review it, that wasn't our expectation. That's sort of a surprise to us. So we'd be just as happy to push that back to December, January, February, whatever.
No, you don't have control over that. This is the planning department. And please, just because I showed this to you and presented a date to you, you don't have to, get involved in that sense to want to push dates and so forth. So if planning wants to have their report with our recommendations by this date, I think that it should stand. And I don't think that you need to be getting involved in pushing dates around. So that's where I stand with my decision in regard to asking Councilman Krikorian to request for a full EIR report. So that's where I'm at.
So Lisa, where does that put us on this motion? Do we need to take a vote on it? Do we table it? How does this factor into that report, if any?
Well, this,
It said it said possible motion. We don't need to do a
yeah, no,
motion.
we're not gonna,
Yeah.
we're not gonna.
I mean,
I mean,
Well,
I
that's what
have
I'm
a
asking.
motion in mind, but I don't think like this group needs to hear it right now then.
well, I think your motion was just to write Paul Kokorian, and ask for a full EIR, including the historic and the cultural. And it sounds like that's what you all know that's going to happen anyway. So that's what your motion was, wasn't it?
We're all
No,
agreeing.
that's
So,
not
yes,
what's on here. It is?
I know, but it's a possible motion, Lana. I'm tabling that.
That's what I'm asking, and the other part of that was asking, with your report that you have to submit by the 8th, according to the city planning department, is this a piece of it that would be important to submit with a report? That's all I was asking.
No, what I just suggested for a full EIR would go into my report. Because I don't want to take a motion right now on this. Because there's so many elements to it, right? There's the DB, there's the MCUP, there's the waiver, there's the specific plan, there's the SPR, VHCA. So I want to table this motion. I move that I table this motion, number 6, and amend that the Land Use Committee of the Studio City Neighborhood Council request Councilman Krikorian to request a full EIR report along with a historic resources report and cultural resources report submitted prior to demolition of the site. So, or reports that are due.
So I feel that I would like to second the tabling of the motion. However, I don't know that that's able to be amended, as you said, but I believe as the chair of the committee, you can bring forth that motion that you just talked about in submitting to the councilman's office, a letter. I believe you can take that straight to the board. Anybody want to comment on that? Richard, do you know if can you validate that process?
Well, first of all, let's do one at a time. Let's first table the motion.
That's what I'm.
Let's
I'm
first table the
saying,
motion.
is I don't think you can amend
You
it.
seconded that. Can we
Right.
take
Yeah.
a vote?
Yes.
Adele
All-
Steiner,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Richard,
Okay,
Jesse.
Yes.
Richard, can you answer with a yes or no?
yes,
Thank you. Okay, motion passes to table. And so, Lana, what are you suggesting, that I take the motion that I want to write straight to the board instead of having a vote here?
Well, there's no motion. There's no.
I can introduce
motion.
the motion.
Okay, I thought it needed to be on the agenda, though. It needed to, it needs to be posted before here.
Not necessarily, I don't think
Oh,
so.
okay. Well, that maybe I'm not.
Well, it's born
Understanding
out of the discussion on number 6. We were tabling making any kind of a decision because we don't have enough information.
Okay, but then you're
That's
creating a new motion. I'm just
right. And the new motion still related to number 6, and the motion, which was she wants to ask for a fully EIR, historical and cultural report from Paul Krikorian. Yeah.
But I am saying that if it is not agendized on our agenda, then I'm not sure, Lisa, that you can have the committee vote on it. It doesn't mean you cannot create that motion and send it to the board to be voted on.
Right.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, but we wouldn't, in the process that I understand, unless it's changed, our committee wouldn't need to vote on a motion that you're
No,
bring. Okay, just wanted to make sure.
I will take it to the board and ask for a second then.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. Just wanted to make sure that was all clear for anybody listening or participating.
Okay.
It is agendized though, isn't it? Because it says presentation, discussion, and possible motion.
Right.
That's what I said. It is agendized.
But not the letter.
But
That's a
not,
different.
not my new motion.
Right, the new that she's
The
talking about.
the new motion that I keep reading, that I don't want to read again, that I just introduced. That's where we're having a little bit of a hard time. But what I'll do is I'll take it to the board next week and I'll ask for a second and take a board vote.
I do believe.
Are you gonna ask for a CIS?
That's after, that's probably later on down the road when you look at the DEIR to do the CIS.
All right,
I mean-
so I am closing this agenda item unless anybody else has something to say. Last chance. Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the presentation. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Again, appreciate everybody's time, and we'll look forward to talking with you all again in this forum. And again, I'll defer to this committee and to Lisa if there are other ways that we can present specific or more general information about the project. But thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, I'm moving to so does anybody need to take a break?
I need to go. Yes, I do.
All right, let's take a 5-minute break, please. 1 minute and we're back. We need to be back. We need to be back, everyone. Thank you. I need Dean back. Dean Cutler. Great. Hi. Okay, moving on to presentation, discussion, and possible motion to Council File 14-1635-S1, Los Angeles Home Sharing, registration, suspension, short-term rental, criminal activity, Los Angeles Municipal Code amendment, a study of how to best deal with criminal activity at short-term rentals. This would have been a co-sponsorship with the SCNC Public Safety Committee. I want to thank Scott Mandel for bringing this item to the attention of land use. And Barry Johnson was quick to point out, actually, that land use agendizes specific property cases and that this is a legislative matter. Therefore, it belongs with government affairs. So this motion has already been sent as an, I think it's the S10, if I'm not mistaken, was already sent to be included at the next SCNC board meeting. So keep an eye out for these motions to be submitted as community impact statements between government affairs and co-sponsored with public safety. So the study of how to best deal with criminal activity at short-term rentals will be discussed later in November. So Scott Mandel, did you have something to add?
I just wanted to say this, Barry was mistaken. He didn't already do a motion on this. He did one that sounded very similar. Wasn't involving the criminal activity. So this one is not going to come up at the next board meeting, but Barry's going to agendize it next month. We may also take it on in public safety. We still have all our motions from last month that, of course, because we didn't have a board meeting. So we have too many at the moment, plus what's going on tomorrow. So when I brought this up, I didn't realize that although it is the use of land, it was legislative, it would was something Barry should be handling. So it'll be up in a month.
Perfect. But thank you, though. We appreciate you thinking of us. All right, moving on, unless someone has anything to say about it. Okay, no. Next item, number 8, presentation to inform and discuss a joint development project with District NoHo and Metro. Project includes a new transit center, a new public park, new station portals, 1,527 housing units, 311 of them affordable, neighborhood serving retail space, office space, and parking. Our presenter is Elaine Loring. We appreciate your patience and hanging in there with us. So here we are with your item. Go ahead and make your presentation, please.
You're muted, Elaine.
Do you want me to unmute you? I'll go ahead.
No, I can unmute me. Share screen is, let me see.
There you go.
There, it's working. Great. So I am here and with my colleague Truman, and we are representing a coalition to reimagine District NoHo housing. We're a coalition of folks from NoHo Home Alliance, East Valley Indivisibles, Studio City, community members, North Hollywood folks, Valley Village, Valley Glen, members of Temple Beth Hillel Task Force, so a wide group of folks. And we wanted to introduce to you District NoHo and the housing plan for this Metro joint development. And what we're hoping is the opportunity to get your support with Metro Director and Council Member Krikorian, and as it comes down with the EIR in the future, to get your support then. I don't know, do you folks know this project?
No.
You know what it is? So the project is, I'm just gonna go here to show you. So this is a Metro joint development project. So public land, unlike the last multi-use project we just were talking about, this one is on land that we all own, owned by Metro, 16 acres. It's gigantic, around the terminus of the Red Line and the Orange Line in North Hollywood. And the project is about $1 billion worth of investment with a new transit center, 500,000 square feet of office space, 100,000 square feet of restaurant and retail, and 1,500 new homes. And just to point out, this is the area that it's not going to be demolishing any homes. It's a lot of parking and light industrial. And our concern, given what we've just heard multiple people talk about, the dire need in our city for affordable housing and more housing, is that 1,500 new homes, they're apartments, but homes, 1,200 are market rate and only 300 are affordable. And they are in segregated buildings. So these two green squares on the screen are where the affordable units would be. So unlike the public project that we just heard, where they've been very sensitive to integrating the community of all income levels, this does not do that. And so our effort right now is to get, I should back up a little bit. This project has been in the planning stage for many years. The request for proposals for the project came in 2015. And the world that it was developed in was quite different than what Los Angeles is facing now on all sorts of levels. And so we are asking Metro to stop and to rethink the housing here to make it better fit what our city needs today and in the future. Because the way it is now, it's not meeting what Metro says they want to do in terms of their vision and promise for affordable housing. it doesn't encourage transit and serve transit riders. This is at, depending which report you read, the second or third busiest transit hub in the city. And this is a way to create a more equitable Los Angeles by having more multi-income housing and integrate it. And just to go quickly through some of these points, the plan falls short of Metro's current vision. The current joint development policy was just revised a few months ago, and anything in the future under this joint development program is going to be 100% income restricted housing, with the idea that this is a public resource and we need to use it in a way to make the city better. A quote from the new CEO of Metro, this last point: how we use our land can help make the difference between a thriving community for all versus one that doesn't work for low and moderate income families. A really bold and courageous approach for Metro to be taking with their future projects. But even back in 2015, when this project was first developed, it was actually started earlier, but in terms of the request for proposals and the conversation with the community, to be honest, has always been for more affordable housing. 35% of all units built on Metro-owned property were to be affordable to households earning 60% AMI or less. And this is back in 2015. And yet this project today is coming out at 20%. And again, we just feel like that's not good enough today. A little bit about the area. North Hollywood really needs affordable housing. I know it's not Studio City, but for a lot of us, this is all one neighborhood in this part of the valley. The median income there is less than $48,000. And if you were at the median income and you spent 30% of your income on rent, which is the goal in the housing world, you would spend $1,200 a month on rent. And if you look on apartments.com, you will find 7 apartments at that rate. And similarly, the HCID, which lists affordable apartments that we again discussed earlier. There are 90 affordable apartments in North Hollywood, but only 7 were available today for rent. And new apartments coming online to the market later this year in that neighborhood, market rate apartments. The 1-bedrooms are between $2,500 and $3,000. According to a call to the leasing agent. So the need is great. And even more so because we're at a transit area. You guys may be familiar with transit-oriented communities. This is not under that Metro rubric, but it is at this very busy transit area. And the people who ride transit are very low income. 60% earn household income of less than $25,000. And it's a real goal for Metro to address declining ridership. So having more affordable housing in that area will enable people to use Metro to get to work and be able to live in an area where Metro is actually very, very convenient. And finally, our concern is these segregated buildings. At all levels of government, we are talking about the need to create a more equitable community and address social justice injustices, I should say, of the past. And having diverse integrated housing is how we can help create a strong and equitable community. So we're asking Metro to pause here and recognize that to make the future better, we really need to make these hard choices to redress the choices of the past that led to incredible income inequality and segregation in our city. And this is an incredible opportunity for Metro to do that because of the amount of land, the number of housing units we have access, we can create. And so we are, the market's going to take care of market rate housing, but to use this public resource to deliver on the promise and build a strong, equitable community in the Valley, Metro has the opportunity to step up. But they're going to need a little encouragement from all of us to do the right thing here. So we are hoping that we can gain your support to encourage them in that way.
So Elaine, thank you for that. Where does the North Hollywood Neighborhood Council stand on this? Have they taken a vote? Is there a motion?
They are supportive, but there isn't a motion. We haven't done that yet.
Right. Richard Nieberg with questions.
And I don't know how you guys work. Part of what we were wondering was if we could give a presentation to the board because it is a big project and looking for support to encourage Metro to pause and reimagine what this can be. And
right,
as I mentioned,
happy to do that. Happy to do that, Elaine. But I would rather wait for your neighborhood council, the North Hollywood Neighborhood Council, to take a vote first. I don't want to be overstepping in taking this on. While I appreciate your presentation, and there's no doubt about it, why wouldn't anyone support this? But I would like to be fair in that I'd like to wait for the North Hollywood Neighborhood Council to take its vote and position first before Studio City does, as this is a North Hollywood proper project. I am going to open this up for questions. Let's start with Richard Niederberg.
Yes, I'm concerned that the connection from the Red Line, Orange Line terminus will not connect to the airport now, and that's a future project. They've worked on the LAX. Now it's time to go down Chandler, up Vineland, which puts you into the middle of the airport landing field area. So it's a very easy and relatively inexpensive project to do, to allow people from Woodland Hills and particularly from the law offices and other offices in the Warner Center to go down the Orange Line and end up at the airport, or to go to the Red Line to Studio City and end up at the airport. I did not see any access way or other easement or anything else that would allow this to happen without affecting these buildings that you're proposing. Thank you.
I can't speak to that in particular. We tonight are talking really about the profile of the residential here. So I'm not familiar with specifically what you're talking about.
I'm talking about the map.
No, I mean, I can't speak to it.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Adele.
Hi, yeah, thanks for your presentation. I have a couple of questions. When you say affordable housing, what does that mean? Does that mean low income or moderate income? Or I just because then that depends on my next question.
We want affordable housing. It has not been, the parameters of the project have not been laid out specifically, so that the way Metro approaches things now, it does tend to be a mix of different levels of affordable housing. But at this point, we're sort of taking it one step at a time, to be honest. So the first thing is we want more than 20% affordable housing in this project.
So when you say affordable housing, are you talking about low income housing?
Affordable housing would be, yes, I
Okay.
am.
Okay, so here's my thought. I mean, and then you said something about you said affordable and moderate, right?
Well,
Low and moderate income families. Here, let me just tell you where I'm going.
Thank you.
I mean, I think, we know that we have a real shortage of affordable housing, and that when they build them, they do, minimal low income housing so that, like, 2 people get an apartment. And I think that's a crime. And you have 1,500 apartments here, which would mean a lot of affordable housing. But my concern is, segregation would be an issue if it was all low income housing, that you would want a mix of people, so that there's not that sort of like, oh, this becomes the projects. And that would be something, I think you really have to think about, is having, a mix, not necessarily expensive apartments, but, sort of a mix of apartments. And so you get a mix of people.
A diverse community, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Yeah,
And so, but I would go for half, I would go 50%, 50-50, because that's the statistics of our city right now, is that 50% of our population needs low income housing. And we're not providing that. We're making market rate apartments everywhere. So those people are basically being pushed out to wherever they're cheaper to live. So I mean, I think that's this is a really important project. And I think it's, and we do unfortunately have to let you take it to NoHo, but I would be willing to help you do that, because I think this is a really important project that you're working on. So thank you.
Terrific, thank you.
Yeah.
And I should tell you that our 100% affordable, 0% segregated, it's a good tagline, right? To sort of drive home the segregation. So I appreciate what you said.
Jesse? Unmute yourself.
Yeah, well, thanks so much, Lynn, for taking the time. Could you possibly stop sharing your screen at this juncture as well?
Oh, sorry, yes.
No worries. I just wanted to thank you for the presentation. It was actually quite illuminating. I'm frankly pretty shocked to learn that the original conception of this project proposed this type of literal segregation. I mean, it's baffling, really. And I think it's such an easy sell, probably to everybody on this committee and to our board, and probably to NoHo as well, that this that this just immediately needs to, be rectified to just at least to be, brought into 2021 and made commensurate with all of the, sort of guiding principles that Metro apparently enumerated. So I think it's an easy sell, and I think it's a great presentation. And thank you for bringing it to us. And we look forward to hearing what NoHo has to say and then weighing in ourselves after that.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Lana?
Question.
Hi, thank you. I appreciate it. It was very informative, and I would just like to say, after hearing validation that this was originally proposed by the Planning Commission to segregate housing. Did I hear that right? This was their plan to have a building for a certain income level in one building or two buildings or whatever. That came from them, correct?
Not the Planning Commission, but this is a joint development between Metro and Trammell Crow, a private developer.
And so I would just like to punctuate how I am also surprised, shocked is more of the word, and aggrieved that in this city in this city in Los Angeles that would have been proposed in the local government. No world post 1964 should have any such situation as this plan that they have offered up. That there is lots of inherent problems associated with that, and you might could tell I have a little accent, so I do speak from a little bit of living in another world where the ravages of that situation have expounded and do cause inherent problems. So with that, yes, I think you guys are doing quite the noble work, and I'm happy to hear what your neighborhood council will have to say about it as well, and looking forward to
You're actually my neighborhood council. I live in Studio City.
Oh, great. Well, and I mean, with the area, right?
I know. I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
Thank you. And
Truman
that's great to hear.
Yeah, we're both Studio City
to
folks.
us because you live here. Yeah, so that's
That's
great.
awesome.
Yeah, we got to hear it first, but that's pretty amazing. So, wowee. And at the same time, I sort of get Trammell Crow being in this business of, well, we want to make a certain way for a building that can accommodate a certain amount to support the building of that, right? Like that's sort of more of the what do you call that, the monetary model in it, as opposed to how our city usually looks at things. So anyway.
All right, thank you, Lana. Jesse, did you have one more thing, or can I bounce over to Ruth? Ruth, did you want to add something?
I have a question, and that is, if the housing in this area will bring in less rent, as is the intention, it would seem to me that the money is really coming out of the taxpayer's pocket. Because if the land is not going to be worth as much, because it will not raise as much, it seems to me that all that money spent to buy the extra property, particularly the area from Fair Avenue to Vineland, was wasted or not really put to the best use. Because the complaint seems to be basically that Metro is not going to get paid back for what they put out to buy all more land than they needed. The piece from Lancashire, not a problem. When you go from Fair to the school, to Vineland, it seems unnecessary, and it may be an expensive endeavor to do it. 100% low income. Thank you.
But
Thank you.
Metro owns it, right? It's not one of these that
Yes.
Trammell Crow is going to purchase it and lease it back to the city, right?
That's correct. Metro owns all this.
Yeah. It won't be worth as much.
Did you have anything more to add? Truman, did you want to add a couple of things?
Other than that, I urge total support for this project, and we need as much affordable housing as we can get. But I think Elaine did a great job, and I'm
She
just,
did.
yes.
Yes, a wonderful job, seriously. And it's a great project. And we definitely encourage you to keep us posted of any new developments that come your way. And also keep staying on top of getting this on the agenda with the neighborhood council in North Hollywood, so that once they sign off on it, you can come back to us, and we'd like to continue showing you our support.
Terrific, thank you. Would just like logistically, the EIR is going to come out sometime this fall. We are hoping to encourage Metro to pause before that comes out, just because this train is moving, and we think the sooner we can slow it down, the more likely we can succeed. So would you be open to us after having North Hollywood's official support coming back to you in advance of the EIR as well?
Absolutely, yes. Keep us
Terrific.
posted.
Thank you. And thank you all for hanging in there. It's awfully late, and we really appreciate the time and attention that you gave us.
Absolutely. Thank you for your patience and hanging in there through our agenda.
Terrific.
Hopefully it was entertaining. All right, thank you. Thank you, Truman. Thank you,
Thank you
Elaine.
so much.
We will catch up with you later. So to committee, thank you so much for all your input and just for being my committee. I just appreciate every single one of you so very much. Any closing comments, Jesse? No? Welcome back. Nice to see you. Richard, anything
you.
in closing? No? Adele? Lana? Dean, you haven't said much tonight.
I know, I've been listening and absorbing and digesting. I think there's a lot going on, and you know, some of these projects are you know, unprecedented, and we're taking them slow, and that's fine.
Would you like to see them go a lot faster?
No,
Oh,
I support us, you know, peeling
Doing
back
what we're doing.
the onion very slowly.
Yes.
I kind of wish Elaine's presentation came before the one before it. It would have been,
I really do too, but
because it would have been really humbling for them, what you
Yeah.
guys are trying to do there. They need
Yeah.
that humbling.
I'll make sure to send them the recording
Yeah.
and tell them to start at 9:33. Because I doubt they want to watch theirs all over again. But yes, so with the intersection between Witset and Coldwater, we really have to keep a close eye as to what's going on between Harvard Westlake, Sunswept Place. There could be something else coming across the street, and the opening of the shops at Sportsman's Lodge, and then now the demolition of that hotel and the environmental impact that's going to have. I mean, they're definitely.
And they
gonna
want to
have
take out
watch
89 trees. That's
89 trees,
Yeah.
89 mature trees.
Mhm.
And that's really, really sad. And that's where, you know, my thought and hopefully slow down process can come into effect with the historic and cultural resources report. you know.
I support you asking for a full EIR.
Thank you.
I support
appreciate
that.
I just can't believe there's no pool there.
I can't believe they're not leaving that pool. That
Yeah,
I
pool
meant
is,
to ask that.
I was
Are you sure there's
told-
not one on any one of the upper levels or anything? Is zero pool?
I was
No,
told
there's
that there would be a
no-
pool. I
What's
was
that?
told that there would be a pool, but I didn't see any. And then tonight they said no, they're not gonna have
No,
it.
in all the reports I
was-
read, I looked for a pool and there is
Pardon?
not.
but
a
I
Strange,
single
strange that something with so much high end has got
No pool.
no pool unless.
and the pool that's there, have you ever been to that pool?
Yeah,
It's really awesome.
it's
an
so cute, isn't
it's
it?
the
So
best pool.
vintage. It has the
It-
best
it's-
vintage feel.
Yeah.
It's hard to preserve that, a pool like that and then dig 3 levels down.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I
It
mean,
would
and then,
crumble.
well, Richard was right about the liquefaction and they're gonna have to pump it out. They're
Oh,
gonna
the
have-
water table is so, like, it's like,
It's 10
what is
feet.
it, Richard?
Yeah,
14 feet below?
10, I think, 10.
Yeah.
10 or,
Very, very low. It was in
Bye, Elaine.
the basement of the former
Thank
lead
you, Elaine.
of the, what would you call it? Residents Association. In her basement, water appeared. And so it's actually happened in Studio City. And I would thought they would have done all their boring and coring ahead of time and do something else, but it looks like they might get a bad surprise. But that's life.